you can get access to the client chats. And if you're on Instagram, go ahead and go to Facebook and join my group, Train.Eat.Love, and you'll see all of the great stuff we have going on in the group. Okay, so today's client chat is about weight loss plateaus, weight loss or weight gain plateaus, and how to overcome them and what happens during a plateau. I've briefly talked about this topic before, but I just really wanted to go into it again because I feel like I've gotten a lot of questions about, oh, I'm doing everything right, but I can't seem to lose weight. And if you're on Instagram, I have this filter on because I'm looking a little rough. I just came back from boot camp. So when you hit a plateau, weight loss or weight gain, it's mostly because you have done great, but you haven't recalculated your caloric needs for the new weight that you are. So let's say that you were 170 and you've calculated that you need, 2,100 calories a day. Okay, let's just go with that. So you've lost 20 pounds, so now you're 150. You're probably still eating the same 2,100 calories. You need to recalculate how many calories that you need for your body weight, because I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be less than that. So now at this point, you're eating to maintain the current weight that you are, and you haven't calculated to continue losing weight. So it's always a continual thing where you need to weekly or even monthly recalculate your caloric and macro needs, and they'll always be constantly changing as your body weight changes. Once you think about it, it makes sense that you can't stay consistent in one thing and then expect to see continuous change. So say you've gotten to 150 and now your caloric needs are down to 1,900 calories a day. You were overeating by 200 calories every day, and you had no idea because you didn't recalculate your calories or your macros or whatever. So that's one. Two is something that I always talk about again, is your portions. So I do hear a lot where people are saying, well, I don't eat that much, so I don't know why I'm gaining weight, or I don't know why I'm losing weight. And sometimes it's not so much the foods that you eat, it's what you're eating. So you could say you have 2 eggs, 2 slices of bacon, 2 cups of orange juice in the morning. Okay, that's not a lot. Okay, and then say you have a sub and some chips and I don't know, it's a smoothie for lunch. Okay, there you go. And then for dinner, let's say you have a relatively small bowl of pasta and some garlic bread and, sweet tea. So the things that I listed doesn't sound like it's a lot of food, because it's not, but it's extremely caloric dense. So that group of foods can probably supersede 2,700 calories in a day, probably around 3,000. So you need to, number one, work on your portions, but also see what combinations of foods that you're eating. Because say in the morning, so I said 2 cups of orange juice, 2 eggs, and 2 slices of bacon. That's not a lot. So number one, you don't need 2 cups of orange juice. You just need 1. There you go. 2 eggs, take 1 egg and about 3 egg whites. So the eggs will give you the source of protein that you need. Egg whites have relatively no caloric value. It's mostly just nutrients. It's because the yolk is the powerhouse, and the nutrients the egg whites are the powerhouse for the yolk, for the baby chicken. So they don't really contain a lot of calories. They contain protein and vitamins and minerals. So if you do egg whites and 1 full egg just to get the density from the yolk, there you go. Keep the bacon. It's fine. Whatever. Do what you want to do. So for lunch, I said chips, a sandwich, and a smoothie. Number one, take out the smoothie, get some water. If you get a well-balanced sandwich that has a lot of veggies in that, you'll be fine. And you can take out the chips and switch it out for some fruit. It might be the same calories, but you're getting more nutrients. Same thing with the pasta. Pastas are fine. Pasta is good. I love pasta, but it depends on what type of pasta you get. When I said pasta, you guys are probably thinking like a meatball and heavy on the cheese and everything. But if you do zucchini noodles, still with some meatballs and the tomato sauce, but take out the cheese, you've honestly cut out about 300 calories right there, just off bat. So that just goes to show how you can still not eat a lot, but still eat way too much at one particular day, excuse me. So I always tell people that they need to track their food. I like MyFitnessPal personally because it's super easy to put food in there and you automatically see how many calories and the macro breakdown of the food. But if MyFitnessPal is too much, then you can just do it and write it down in your phone or on a piece of paper. But you really need to look at every day the food that you're eating, because it's easy to eat your food and then forget about it. Like, honestly, I have to sit here and think about what I had this morning. But I know if I look at MyFitnessPal and I look throughout my food throughout the day, I can see how well or how not so great that I did. And it's seeing that in black and white, which is really a good determining factor of whether you're going to lose or gain weight. Because it's one thing for you to remember what you had throughout the day. It's one thing to remember what you had yesterday. But when you're able to see what you've eaten throughout the course of a week and then say like, oh, I see why I gain weight, or I see why I'm not gaining weight because I overate my caloric needs by 200-300 calories every day. And 200 or 300 calories every day equates to 1,000 calories in a week, 4,000 calories in a month. And then it's more clear for you to see what's going wrong. And it's more clear for you to see what you can live without. So if you see that every day you're eating fruit snacks, chips, and like having some ice cream at the end of the day, say like, okay, well, I don't need the ice cream and I don't need the chips. I can live without those. But when you're not seeing it in black and white, it's easy to forget. And it's easy to, voluntarily forget that you're doing certain things that are self-sabotaging you. And you're just saying, oh, I'll just have this for today. It's fine. I did great all day. And you're rewarding yourself day to day to day and sabotaging your goals. Now, I'm mostly talking about people who are on a weight loss journey, because that's most of my clients. But it goes for the same for people who are on a weight gain journey. If you're on a weight gain journey, you need to eat more food. And again, tracking and looking at your food to see why you're not gaining weight, to see if you're eating enough protein that you need to build the muscle that you need. So I went on a huge rant about tracking, but I think it's so important that you see the black and white and you see what's happening on the day to day. And that's another reason why you plateau is not tracking, because you have no idea. You have no idea what's happening. You have no idea what your numbers are. And I don't want to make it sound so data kind of like, but at the end of the day, a lot of it is numbers. It's numbers and figuring out where your numbers lie for your individual journey. And that's what I do. You love data. I'm glad you do. That's what I do for you guys, because some people just don't like the numbers. They don't want to look at what's going in and what's going out. And that's what I help you guys with, is figuring out those numbers and kind of making it seem less intimidating. But if you kind of wrap your mind around that, you need to look at your caloric intake, your macros, protein, carbohydrates, and fats, and make sure that those are all in line. And takes a lot of trial and error. Like, hitting a plateau is frustrating, but getting over the plateau is actually liberating, because you know exactly where you stand. And so, speaking of numbers, looking at your body composition. So you can actually be skinny and be fat. It's this thing called skinny fat, where you're skinny, but you have a lot of fat on your body. And that's where body composition testing comes in, where you do like a bod pod or an InBody or a DEXA scan, and you can figure out how much muscle, fat, water you have on your body to help you better analyze those numbers and see where your caloric needs are. Again, I will take care of that for you if you want me to. But the best one, if you can find a DEXA, is it's a low dose X-ray that takes. What about fat skinny? That's me. A lot of people are fat skinny. Yeah, skinny fat skinny, where you're skinny, where you don't look like you're obese, or when you're not obese according to the BMI, but you actually have more body fat percentage that is recommended. But getting back to the DEXA, there's a lot of places in the Northern Virginia area that offer DEXA scans. I actually partner with a gym called Body Mass Gym in Arlington that does DEXA scans. So if you want a DEXA scan to find out your body mass composition, please let me know. I have a code so you can get 10% off your DEXA scan, and I will help you go and analyze all that information if that's something that you're interested in. I always recommend to my clients that they get a DEXA scan so we can get those numbers and better and more accurately calculate their caloric needs, because again, at the end of the day, it's all numbers. So I think I've been on here for about 10 minutes, and I don't like to keep these client chats more than about 10 or so minutes because I don't want you guys' eyes to glaze over. But plateaus, I went off on a bit of tangents over the course of these 10 minutes, but it's boiled down to you recalculating your caloric needs as you lose weight or as you gain weight to make sure that you're continuing to hit those numbers. Because if you are still eating the same amount of calories that you were when you first started your weight loss journey, then you're gonna stop losing weight. You're gonna hit that plateau. So I have a question. I've been using MyFitnessPal but not been using it often as I should. What macro percentage do you recommend for weight loss, protein, fat, and carbs? Okay, that's a very good question. So once you've calculated your caloric needs, okay, so you need to find out how many calories you need for weight loss, okay? Protein should be somewhere between 30 and 35% of your caloric need. Fat should be somewhere under 25. I would say more on the 20% side. I can't give you exact numbers because everyone's caloric needs are different. But if you take like 2,000 calories and you say 30% of 2,000 calories are 20% of 2,000 calories, and then carbs are between 40 and 50% of your total caloric needs, you calculate those, and then you'll find out how many calories of each macro that you need. And again, if you need to DM me or message me, and I can help you figure out those numbers, okay? Because it's a lot of math. I didn't think that going into nutrition was going to be as much math as it was, but it's a whole lot of math. So protein is 35%, somewhere about. Fat is under 25, around 20, and carbs are between 40 and 50, okay? So I hope that answers your question percentage-wise. And if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. I hope I've helped you guys through some of that with the plateaus and everything. But again, and as always, please message me if you have questions or you need my help, because that's what I am here for. That's what I do. Okay, so I will talk to you guys next week for next week's client chat. All right, so I'm going to hop off both of these. Let me do Instagram first. Bye, guys.